This video is going to be on vendor setup and clearing out and viewing your error log. And we're going to go over this obviously in the Total eGolf back office. We're going to go over how to link vendors properly in Great Plains, and then how to view and clear out the error log if you do have errors in there. So we're going to go ahead and log into the back office. And we'll start with that vendor maintenance and linking to GP. We're going to find that area under setup, master setup, and master setup. And then in the top here under accounting system, Great Plains, we're going to click on this setup button here. This TEG accounting box will pop up, and at the very bottom there you'll see vendor maintenance. And this is where we all originally set up our vendors. We can view those vendors with this magnifying glass here, and then obviously if you have brand new vendors, you can just type right into this vendor ID and hit tab, and then complete all the proper information for a brand new vendor. What I want to focus on here is that which a lot of us have missed this area, and that's why we're seeing problems with posting invoices and them transferring to GP. One of the main steps here is to link these vendors to their proper GP ID, which is this area right here. So I'm going to go to GolfWorks vendor, and you'll see it, all the information on the vendor and then your vendor accounts. The key is right here under multi-company vendor, under this GP vendor ID. If this area is blank, so if this were to not say GolfWorks, if it were to look something like that, you're going to want to come into each one of your vendors and double check this area right here. And if this area is blank, all you're going to do is click this little box, and these are all your vendors in GP. So you're going to scroll down and essentially just duplicate the vendor. So you're going to find GolfWorks. Since we are on GolfWorks, double click it, it'll populate that GP vendor ID, and then you're going to click save, and that will properly link those vendors. If you were to come in here, for instance, I'll load AHEAD, and let's say this area was blank, and when you went to link that vendor, if you did not see that vendor in this area, so if AHEAD was not in here when you went to link it, you do need to send your accountant an email and maybe a copy of an invoice and have them load that new vendor. They're the only ones that can do that. So once again, when you go to double check these, if this area is blank and you go to add it to duplicate this and that vendor is not in this area, just send your accountant an email and list those vendors that you need added. And then you'll be, once they add those, you will be able to come back in here. You'll see the vendor that they added. You'll be able to double click it and then properly save that and link them to GP. So that is vendor maintenance and properly linking your vendors to Great Plains. Now we're going to head over to the error log and show you what that looks like. We're going to find that in Setup, General, and at the bottom here, Error Log. So you can see in here, I actually have an error in here, and it relates to that vendor we just set up, GolfWorks. So if you ever see any errors in here, what that means is a transaction, either posting an invoice or an end of day, something didn't transmit properly to GP. So what we want to do is, once we have linked all our vendors, come into this area, double click on these individual errors. You'll see essentially the invoice information that you entered. And once that's properly linked in vendor maintenance, you can come in here, double click them, click repost, and this does take about 30 seconds to a minute to repost, and you'll see it properly cleared out with no error. If you were to click repost and you get an error, all that means is that under that vendor maintenance, which once again is setup, master setup, master setup, and then setup under Great Plains and vendor maintenance. What that means is if you were to get errors when you're posting invoices or clearing out your error log, it means that this area is blank. So if I had an invoice right now for Try-On Z and I went into ProShop and inventory and tried to post that invoice, we would get an error because we would need to link Try-On Z properly. So once again, setup, master setup, master setup. Go into these vendor maintenance areas and just run through each vendor starting at the top and make sure they're properly linked and that this box right here is not blank. And if it's a vendor that you know you don't use anymore, for instance Adams Golf we haven't used in a long period of time or we're not using anymore, then you really don't have to worry about it. But if you do see them in here, I would link them. So once you've done that step, once again, just go into your error log. I'll show you that one more time. Under Setup, General, and Error Log. And if there are errors in here, after you've linked them properly in GP, come in here and repost them. So that's linking vendors properly in GP and then viewing your error log and clearing those error logs out after you have linked those vendors.